put up the home screen as we connect?
Yes. Welcome everyone once again. We have a good number of attendees who have already joined in. We will be starting in next 2 minutes. A very warm welcome to all the attendees for COVID-19 Health and Benefits Today, Tomorrow and Beyond, a webinar hosted by Marsh India. It's 4:01 and we have close to 90 attendees already, and I know many of them are joining yet. We would kickstart our webinar on time. Thank you for sparing your time and being with us. I know there have been so many webinars in the last few months. We have kept the attendees consciously from the Delhi and the region around that to have a limited attendance, which will allow to spend more time on having an interactive session with you. We have the Q&A tab at the bottom of the screen. You can use that to type your questions or your comments anytime during the session. I'm Sanjay Kedia, Country Head and CEO for Marsh India, and I have with me the senior team from Marsh and the consulting team from Marsh on health and benefits. Shantanu Saran, whom you all may know, he leads our operations for North. We have Pawan Garg, who leads the employee benefits practice for the North, and Praval Kalita, who leads our national practice for health and benefits. Dr. Rajiv Agrawal, who manages our large accounts, and particularly he has been managing the COVID helpline and some very important response center, we call it, in terms of managing the engagement with TP and insurance market. Tanushree Sinha and Ima Azim, both of them from the consulting team, they will be leading the presentations. I have some quick observations to share with all of you. We all are aware COVID-19 has caused a lot of uncertainty around so many aspects. When we attend so many of these sessions, I know one of the big questions people ask, how long this COVID-19 will last? I don't think anybody has a clear answer for this. If somebody says they know the answer, he's lying. Yet, we all hope that this ends soon. There is a potential vaccine. We don't know whether it will work or not. Hopefully it will work. And so many other treatments. I think the humanity as a whole has put unprecedented resources, time and energy to address this health risk challenge which the whole world faces. So while we are in the world of this uncertainty as to what may happen, uncertainty around our supply chain risk issues, uncertainty around bankruptcy, which is going to increase if this continues for a longer period of time, the business interruption losses which has been faced by some enterprises more than the others. So with all these uncertainties around, insurance brings in an element of solution around some of the risks, but not all of them. And health insurance and the benefit insurance has provided solutions to many aspects of this, but not all aspects of it. And here we are today to discuss what's happening on this. It's a joke which has been used very often in so many seminars, but let me share to highlight a point. We all have heard who has brought the digital strategy successfully in your enterprise. Is it the CEO? Is it the Chief Technology Officer? Or the COVID? And we all know it's the COVID which has brought the digitalization in an accelerated way, at least by a decade, if not more, around all businesses. Similarly, this whole acceleration of something which was bound to happen, be it digitalization, and also there are several elements within the benefit strategy, I would say is happening on a faster pace because of COVID. And they were inevitable, but probably COVID has brought them to greater light. If I was to look back and say, what are the big elements which have changed? Of course, Eva and Tanushree will take you through an organized presentation on the Pulse survey, which has been participated by most of you. But what in essence is changed are around these few pillars. One, COVID has brought to light the adequacy of cover. Do you have the right coverage in terms of the adequacy, sum insurers? And a lot of people have reviewed that. And in many aspects of adequacy, people are reviewing. People are checking whether they have the death cover. Most organizations have, but many were not having. There's been a dialogue around, we all know the medical insurance has largely been a hospitalization cover. This whole dialogue around OPD cover, that is outside hospitalization, home quarantine, delivery through digitization, the medical help and consultation in various forms coming at your doorstep. All of them are brought to the light much more than ever. We all know that this is a very interesting moment on the benefit side, that the entire workspace has been challenged in terms of business reality. So benefits was, of course, the biggest focus of the HR, but with the gravity of the business situation, it became an enterprise-wide issue in many ways. And the cost is also an issue in terms of many organizations are fighting for survival. Many organizations are looking how to retain their jobs of all the people. And at one hand, there's a greater demand to provide protection to the employees. How do you balance this very, very challenging situation? The need for voluntary benefit has never been felt more than ever during this challenge, which is a health crisis turning into an economic crisis in a big way. So the participation of voluntary benefit is becoming big in most organizations. I would say we have all seen in the last 15 years in the Indian market, the copay on claim is a big theme. As Mercer Marsh, we believe the next big theme emerging is the sustainability of these insurance program and the use of copay on premiums. And this copay on premiums could be in the form of voluntary or Q&A at the time of the beginning. We are starting to see an emergence of copay on premium on parents program to allow them to remain sustainable. So these are very interesting and emerging themes coming across in various forms. And of course, there are themes around stress, there are themes around digital medical delivery, which we all discussed, and so forth. The key is the future is fast forwarded. And on the HR fronts, we are also in the world of uncertainties as to how the flexi working will work, how the remote working will work, how the life will be in the digital age of working, the way things are moving at such a fast pace. So there are so many other elements. There's a world of possibility and there's a world of uncertainty. And we have to keep our employees engaged and motivated. At Mercer Marsh Benefits, we are committed to bring the best of global learnings to your advantage, and more importantly, to learn from each other in shared platforms like this. So please share your thoughts and suggestions as we move forward. Next slide, please. We have the Q&A tab at the bottom of the screen for people who have joined in late. Please type in your question, comments anytime during the show so that we can have a very engaging program. And we will be reserving almost half the time to engage and listen to you and share your thoughts with everybody else so that we grow together. So with this, I hand over the line to my colleague Tanushree to take this forward. And once again, thank you for joining us. Tanushree.
Thank you, Sanjay. Thank you so much for setting the context. I take this opportunity to welcome everybody for this webinar. So before we move into the details and the findings of the survey, as Sanjay rightly mentioned, that we in 2020 we saw the biggest pandemic of our lifetime, but 2020 will also be remembered for the kind of resilience, adaptability, and innovation that each and every organization has demonstrated in their own little space. So taking a cue from there, we at MMB, it was our endeavor to understand that, how organizations are looking at their employee health and benefits policies. So we're starting with the poll question, and I think that, you can see it on your screen. So we'll just give it another moment before we end the poll. So request you to kindly participate in the poll. So if you see, you can see the poll results here, and with employee well-being at the core for each and every organization, I know that we have all gone through this process. It's been a humongous task for each and every HR professional dealing with it, but employee well-being has always been at the core. So moving on from there, our survey was, the scope of the survey, of course, in line with your thought process, was employee well-being, understanding the benefit strategy that we need to put in place during this pandemic to, help those employee well-being policies, and also looking at benefits budgeting in terms of these times when, everything was, there was a constraint, everything had to be relooked at through a different lens altogether. So this was the scope of our survey. And these are some overview in terms of, we had 152 participants who participated in the survey spread across 15 plus industries. High participation from both, if you see that, probably equal participation from both the services as well as the core sectors. As every one of you rightly said, that employee well-being was the core, and the need of the hour was to look at it, transform the way we were looking at employee well-being all the way through. 87% of our participants actually said that it was their top priority even then. And today, so roughly we had conducted the survey around the month of end of May, June, and today down in September as well, I hear all of you shouting out loud saying employee well-being is the core of our organization. So we continue to be in line with that. We also had done a pre-COVID survey, which is a pre-pandemic, which we had run. And these are some interesting numbers that I'm putting in front of you to give you a pre and a post-pandemic numbers. So if you see in terms of digital solutions, which was 15%, and what Sanjay mentioned during his session, that there is so much of digital solutions that are coming up. It's not only in the healthcare, but it's communication. Wherever possible, digital solutions has been the way forward for most of the things. Similarly, mental well-being or EAP services, while there was a 66% take, which was there even pre-pandemic, but post-pandemic, the numbers have really shot up to like 92%. Similar things we see for a primary care, preventive care. Organizations have also focused on financial well-being. So one of the things that came out is that during these times, these challenging times, employees were also facing problems with respect to how to manage their finances. There were salary cuts. So, organizations also arranged for a lot of financial well-being programs for their employees. Moving on from there, the next thing that we wanted to look at is that, with the limited benefits budget that was available to us as HR professionals at the beginning of the year. So obviously we were not seeing any additional budgets coming in, but the idea was to optimize and drive these budgets in a more channelized and focused manner. And here we see 76% of employers saying that they saw a foresee in a change in their benefits budgeting approach. So the idea was to source out or drive these available resources into channels which were more of the focus area at the current moment. And this is what we really came out, that 89% of employers said that, we will have to contemplate and look at new arrangements in response to this pandemic, because honestly, nobody was prepared for it. It just landed. And we all had to grapple and come up and be innovative in the way that we take it forward. So in terms of budget optimization, clearly there were three things that stood out. So one was looking at the entire insured benefits portfolio as a whole. And a lot of things that, Sanjay already covered during his session. So with whether it was co-share of premium or introduction of co-share of claims, looking at the overall, the core benefits that are being offered, the adequacy of those benefits, in terms of sum insured, in terms of coverages, revisit and look at co-funding of these plans, introduce voluntary plans. So organizations really looked at insured benefits portfolio and started looking at it, that how it can be tweaked so that we can get the best for the employees, at the same time be cost effective. Another thing that emerged is that, in the current scenario, we continue to live with this fact that there is so many job losses happening. There are so many pay cuts. There are no increments that's happening. But isn't the challenge with HR always that, you still have to attract and retain those key talent? So when compensation is no longer the differentiator, then comes next is the benefit. And benefit, as it is the three quadrants of our total rewards programs. So flexible benefits is something that emerged in the light of this situation, where we are saying that, through flexible benefits, what we can offer to employees is move away from a defined benefits program to a defined contribution model. Here we can bring in a lot of choices, all kind of try new benefits, explore things, just to, because we're discussing flex benefits right now. So, organizations who already have flex benefits, they're introducing things like, OTT platform subscriptions that they can avail. So the differentiator is going to be benefits, and the model to go forward is flexible benefits, where we can do a cost sharing, offer the choices to employees, and be the differentiator in the market. In the light of the pandemic, there were other arrangements also made by employers. So in terms of infrastructure support, whether it's table chairs, ergonomic chairs being offered to employees so that they are in the best of their health while working from home. Digital solutions, again, of course, healthcare, but communication took it to a different level altogether, because that was the contact or the touch point with employees, and hence the importance of digital solutions became all the more important. Overall, lastly, we definitely had to look at the overall benefit strategy, because it was just not about the budget, and also looking at the employee well-being programs that had to be changed, but overall looking at and re-engineering the benefit strategy that was designed at the beginning of the year. So in terms of, as I mentioned towards the beginning of the session, that, organizations have been so innovative and adaptive in their offerings to their employees. So some of the innovative things that came up is that home care services. Now employees were working throughout the day from home, and honestly that demarcation of the work life and the personal life no longer exists. So offerings like, home care services like laundry service, food delivery, these things emerged. Organizations supported their employees with these. Thereon, we also saw that, in the current scenario, you're not sending your children or your toddlers to creche anymore. However, you still need that support to go ahead and take care of your children and your toddlers. So comes the nanny service and the babysitter service that organizations started offering. So of course, the larger connect with the organization that constantly is required is the leadership connect. So connect with the CEO on regular basis, just to assure the larger employee group that, what is the organization's thought process and where we are headed. In line with the benefit strategy that we spoke about, the market came up with a lot of products in terms of that you can see, and we at MMB came up with a lot of solutions. So whether it was flexible benefit solution, digital healthcare solution, extensive digital communication. So we geared up to the occasion and came up with customized solutions for all our clients. And Ema will speak a lot more in detail when we go to her section in terms of the products and the solutions that we have today. This is a quick snapshot in terms of, when we looked at these couple of things like a pandemic cover, a voluntary top up, additional death benefit, and remote well-being. So we did a quick benchmarking to see that industry-wise, where do these companies fall? Industry-wise, where do you fall? So if you see that, specifically for a pandemic cover, BFSI is above the all industry mark. And for remote well-being programs, it is high tech and BFSI again, they are above the all industry mark. So with this, I would like to invite Ema, my colleague, who is also the consulting lead for North, and most of you would be knowing her already. And I would like her to walk us through some benefit strategies and benefit strategies that's evolving for tomorrow and beyond in these trying times. So over to you, Ema.
Thank you, Tanushree, and a very warm welcome to all of you. Thank you for taking out the time to join us today for the session. We can move on, Tanushree. Thank you. So Tanushree did mention that the survey was conducted around the month of May when we were still evolving. We were trying to come up to speed of what our clients would require from us in terms of benefit solutions, in terms of digital preparedness, in terms of remote preparedness more so. But while all those work was being done, the country actually underwent tremendous amount of change. The data is here in front of all of us. The upper portion of the data is something which is available to us on public platforms, just a click away for all of us. But it also gets reflected in our MMB database, which has some interesting readable findings for all of us to share with you. After having managed more than 7,000 COVID claims so far, we can safely say that India's recovery rate, which is by far the best in the world at 77%, our MMB database reflects the same to say that our recovery rate is 81%, which is something to be very happy about. Another interesting finding from this database was that COVID-19 started with a state of panic, but has eventually moved into a state of planning and preparedness. In our current state of planning and preparedness, we are observing that more than 78%, roughly 80% of claims which are falling under mild to moderate category are actually, something which can be well treated at home, does not require extensive hospitalizations, and hence a lot of it is something which can be managed without much of a panic to be, or a fear to be, to be observed. So we can move on. Tanushree. Thank you. Another interesting data point which came across was while the common influenza does not differentiate between the genders, COVID-19 actually impacted the male population more than the female population. There could be various reasons for it. One, of course, is a lot of studies which suggest that the female population does have a better immunity levels. The second is when the country started moving into the phase of unlocking, our frontline essential services companies were essentially male worker dominated. And when the male population started coming out more to attend to their essential services, trades and occupations, their exposure levels were higher. So the data findings so far, which suggests that the male to female ratio is 2.2:1. The second, of course, is the fact where the entire country is observing, and even the MMD data suggests that we need to really have a plan in place to protect our elder, because the immunity levels are down. There is a significant amount of comorbid conditions which have developed in our elder population. So our the preparation has to be more in place for how to protect our elders, and the data also reflects the same. Move on. Thank you. So here there are certain interesting data points, which is something that is worth calling out, is that we've observed that the average length of stay for a COVID treatment in a hospital is about 8.5 days. And the average spend, which is required for a treatment of COVID in an IPD, is about 1.8 lakhs. So how this gets tied up with your benefit strategy is to look at the adequacy of your family sum insured levels, whether one person requiring a 2 lakh cover and almost all the members in the family suffering with COVID, what is the kind of coverage which would be required to protect the entire family? The second interesting data point which came across was that for COVID treatment specifically, the payout ratios hovered around 55 to 60%. What it means is that while in the for all other non-COVID treatments, or rather in the pre-pandemic era, for every 100 rupee claimed, there was a reduction of about 10 to 12 rupees. But in the pandemic era, for every 100 rupee claim, the reductions were in the range of about 30 to 35 rupees. What are the possible reasons? The reasons are because of the hospital compliance charges around PPE kits, surgical gears that were required. The remuneration of the hospitals dropped, so there were billing impacts around it. The second is most important one is the policy wording. So if the policies were designed with certain room rents and caps in place, there were instances found where the persons who were requiring isolation ward facilities or a certain room category for COVID treatment, those certain instances were falling short of the policies, coverages, which landed into, the gap in the provision of the solutions within the insurance programs versus what was required for a COVID treatment. So these were the major call outs that we wanted to highlight, because all this will go as a data feed and the decision enablers for us to define the shorter term, the medium term, and the longer term benefit strategies for you. While COVID was something that we were all tracking on a daily basis, we were watching news on what is happening on COVID, what is the number of per day cases, how much of it is impacting our economy and the workforce scenario. There was another phenomena which was taking place. There were delays in healthcare. So the data itself states that there are so many elective surgeries which were delayed. What will happen is that all these delayed and elective surgeries will eventually come into the program as deferred claims, but not just as a deferred claim. They will come in a much worsened health conditions because they are all delayed. The second is a possibility of consuming more sum insured from the program as compared to what they had consumed if they had happened on time. So these are the two elements which need to be kind of kept in mind while we are designing our benefit strategies. The second is, of course, the uncertainty which led into employee anxiety, the family members' anxiety, because the employee who was working remote was actually anxious for two things. One was for his own health and his own job, and the second was the health and safety of their family members. All of this multiple anxiety issues culminated into a significant increase in the mental health situations, and which is evident in the data point, which suggests that the uptake of mental health consultations went up exponentially. The third, as I stated in the previous slides, was about the the drop in the payout ratios and various impacts on your hospitalization bills, which has actually resulted into a significant rise in the medical inflation. While this is not something which is permanently going to be there, but does require an adequate amount of planning and budgeting in terms of what is to be watched out and what areas to be watched out while we plan for our benefit strategies in the near and long term. So we literally moved from 9.6 to 12%, 13%. Thank you. We can move on. Thank you. The now and tomorrow of COVID. So what the today and tomorrow of COVID actually demanded that we see things with a very different lens. In one of our global surveys, we realized that there was literally 300% increase in the number of wills which were prepared, which means that globally the workforce was really anxious about their own life and what happens to their loved ones if because of pandemic they lose their lives. So the organizations did realize that we need to review our core benefits, not just in terms of medical insurance, but also in terms of life insurance. While budgets remained a serious concern, the organizations definitely started looking and are already in discussions. Maximum amount of you are already in discussions with us on how to provide an adequate level of coverage in life and medical insurance, not necessarily on the company sponsored basis. Much of it can actually take place in the voluntary scheme of things. We also realized that outpatient care, which was like a on-table discussion almost every year, but was not finding its due space in your benefit strategy and framework, really was time tested this time when we found that expenditures incurred on the COVID tests where the findings was negative, expenditures incurred on the drugs which were required to be taken for treatment of COVID at home, and various other elements. They could have actually found a place and a response if there was a adequate level or a robust outpatient care service solution which was available in our insurance plan. the greater emphasis on care and community, we found that if most of you or some of you eventually decide to do a remote working of a partial population, the solutions have to be designed with a community and a larger family in mind. So there will be solutions which will be required in the short and near future, which will be focused on the community and family as a whole. The last one here is as we've already seen in the previous slides, is the surge in the digital and virtual healthcare platforms. And we did have facilitations which we made to bring in partners, some of the best ones in around the globe and in the country, to kind of support you during these times. And we saw a significant amount of uptake, because this was something which was also responding well to those uncertainties and those anxieties which were literally troubling our workforce in the remote work situations. We can move on. Thank you. While we are still at digital healthcare, it is worth mentioning that some of our facilitations that we've made, ever since the pandemic hit us, had seen a lot of adoption, and it's here to stay. Digital healthcare is something that is not going back, because we've realized that what can happen over a phone call does not require a frequent visit to the clinics or to the diagnostic labs and so on. So the data here itself suggests that we've had more than 40,000 telemedicine consultations which have already been catered to. 5,500 plus users who've already enrolled, and the platforms come with complete agility in terms of catering to various multilingual situations, managing all kinds of emergency responses, providing something which was earlier being managed through aggregator discounted tie-ups. We're also bringing something, we're trying to create a platform which is holistic in nature, whereby we are offering solutions where there is a extensive and interesting discounts on bulk purchase of pharmacy and standalone diagnostics as well. Thank you, we can move on. It's time for the next poll question. Before I jump into what the future holds in terms of benefit strategy, we want to hear from you that according to you, which elements are required for business and workforce resiliency planning over the next 6 to 12 months. Thank you. And as expected, the results are something that we are completely, geared up to cater to during today's conversation. And we are really excited to embark this journey with you, which is providing flexibility and access to healthcare. Because this is something that has been really stress tested and time tested during the pandemic, that what happens, are we providing all kind of access only at the hospital locations, or are we gearing up to doing something which is more flexible and which is more as per the need of the employee, and catering to employee experience and their conveniences. So here what we want to underline certain, need gaps, certain things which are finding their due space and which are not going to go back at all. One is, of course, the point that we found the power of communication. An employee who was totally away from the workforce could only be communicated with a very powerful and robust communication system. Organizations innovated various ways and modules to communicate in their employees. So we will have our benefit strategies completely catering at that being something, how to kind of moderate the solutions and communicate them to your workforce. We also realize that with pandemic and with the entire remote working proposition, this era will open up a pool of talent which is going to be much more diverse and inclusive. Diversity and inclusivity was always something that we've been speaking about. We really need to ask ourselves that, are we really diverse and inclusive? This era will teach us, or maybe will help us kind of evolve to go to, if not completely, at least to a large extent, diverse and inclusive. We also understand that now the popularity of the benefit is not something that is going to take a precedence in our, or take really the center focus in our benefit solutioning. It's rather the issue at hand which will require and a more space in our benefit discussion. We realized that the well-being, which was more of a check in the box activity all this while, will require a much more space in our benefit strategy, because a healthy workforce is something that is going to, or an unhealthy workforce is something which is going to impact our business operations in the future. As Sanjay rightly mentioned, that health risk is no more HR risk, it's an enterprise level risk. The second is the preparedness of being remote. So everything, including maybe as regular as a help desk, we do need to prepare ourselves for going completely remote, like a virtual help desk, or in the future, who knows, we may have, help bots, chatbot facilities developed for you. And the partners who are doing an extensive amount of work on these areas to provide services in these areas. So these are the certain, underlying principles which are going to take place in our benefit conversations with you. And we are going to abide by these underlying principles to design all the future benefit, consultations when we sit across with you and design your future benefit strategies. Here is, finally, here is the circle of how the benefit strategy will get evolved. The circle at the top starts with, we identified your immediate need was really benefit financing. We were finding conversations which were happening in the past, but became more intensive during the pandemic, that how do we find benefit financing and various innovative ways to do all of this. The second topic of discussion that found its due place in the last couple of months was operational efficiency. Were we really geared up to go completely paperless when it comes to policy issuance, endorsement issuance, claim payment? What happens to our, like the TPA network? Is having a 20,000 long list of hospitals good enough, or carving out something which is more meaningful to you and giving you an operational efficiency more meaningful? So some of these answers would also find its place when we do a long-term benefit strategy for you. The next one, of course, as Tanushri spoke about, is cost containment. Now, if you see, I've mentioned a line that says that we need to find a balance between cost and empathy, which means that cost containment, while it has been on table, most of you have adopted it in some form or the other. We will continue to have that journey of our sensitivity towards employee messaging when it comes to cost containment, but we will not shy away from bringing those discussions on the table at the time, at the right time, at each time, so that you are aware of various possibilities within the cost containment spectrum. Then, of course, will come the plan design optimization. Tanushri spoke about benefit, budget optimization. I want to bring a focus on design optimization. Maybe we'll have to sit through, and I'm already undergoing various conversations where some of you are asking me that, do I need to see my benefit, the long list of benefits that I have accumulated over the last 10 years, and see which of these have not been utilized in the last 2-3 years? Can I take them off and maybe trade them with something more meaningful, like an outpatient care, bring parents program back in place if you had withdrawn from it in the previous couple of years? So optimization is nothing but maybe looking at the relevance of benefits with the time. And another thing which is very interesting and requires a mention here is that while we were originally planning for benefits which could have lasted at your as your framework for 2 to 3 years, we were now required to review your benefits almost at a renewal annual pace, because pandemic has taught us that no amount of planning is good enough. So as frequently as possible, we need to have a constructive dialogue with you to see that what optimization means to you. What is an optimization technique that I can align with your HR goals and your organizational goals, and whether there are possible solutions within the country which are available, which can talk to each other. The last bit on the circle is the long term, which is the beyond. Tanushri did mention about flexible benefits. I just want to call out that from shoes to pizzas to clothes to your cars, everything was about personalization. So why not benefits? The employee at this time did feel that, hey, maybe I want, additional leaves and lesser benefits, or more benefits but lesser leaves, and so on. So, personalization of benefits, and if not full stack flexible, maybe baby steps towards personalization of benefit is something that we want to bring on your table, and see how you feel as an organization, and whether you wish to kind of at least evaluate certain elements of flexibility and personalization in your long-term benefit strategy. So while all these will take their adequate space in our benefit strategy in the medium and long term, this requires an adequate amount of time and energy from both of us to sit across the table and design something which is bespoke, unique, and curated only for your needs, and cannot be standardized across the board. So with this, I'm handing it over to Pravin, who's going to walk us on what is happening around the globe. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ima. That was a very insightful journey into the entire health and benefit spectrum. And I really thank everyone out here who have joined us today afternoon for this enriching discussion. I think, yes, what we do see here is that COVID-19 is uncertain. It has brought in certain element of uncertainty, which Sanjay did mention in the beginning. At the same time, there will be so much of learning and so much of enriching experiences that all of us would have collectively here to share with each other. And that's what Mercer Must Benefits would always strive to achieve for clients. We at MMB today have more than 9,000 colleagues globally who are health and benefit specialists. We have more than 100 plus clinicians with us across the globe who are supporting our clients globally. A lot of learnings are there which we can share with our clients globally and as well as in India. I think today these are unprecedented times, these are very uncertain times, and that's when you need partners who are very stable, who are pioneers in this world and who can leverage the global learnings and global strength of our scale of organization to support the client in their health and benefit journey. I do have also the pleasure of inviting here Mr. Suresh Mathur. Mr. Suresh Mathur is the Executive Director for IRDA. IRDA, as all of us would be aware, is the regulatory body for insurance sector in India. So without much ado, I'd like to quickly invite him, to share a few moments with us. Sanjay, I think it's really a privilege to have Mr. Suresh Mathur here amongst us. So maybe, just a quick word from Mr. Suresh Mathur would be so delightful for the entire audience here today. Yes, Sanjay, I think we have Suresh.
Yes, I'm just requesting Mr.
Okay.
Mathur to.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Mathur, would you like to make a quick comment?
I think Sanjay, there's some technical glitch, I guess. So we need to just check with him once again. I think the name is different than the video. Yeah, we can move on.
So, Prabal, why don't you continue? Huh?
Oh,
I'll just check with him separately.
Please.
Maybe some technical glitch. Yeah.
You can bring back the. So like I was talking about the fact that yes, we at Mercer Must Benefits with our global presence and learning and experience, we'll be there with you to partner this journey ahead. What we have also done is we'll invite you to a series of webinars after this event. You'll get an invite from us where we'll invite you to a series of webinars. These are global webinars organized by Mercer Must Benefits, where a lot of senior leadership from our clients also will be coming on board and talking about very interesting themes out here. So for example, one of the themes that we are going to talk about is if our spend on healthcare is more than 10%, how this number would look like in the next few years? What kind of predictive modeling clients are using? What kind of predictive modeling we are using to demonstrate the rise on cost? Similarly, we are going to talk about, let's say, how global benefits in today's era are evolving around the COVID-19 crisis. So I think these are the kind of themes that we'll look forward to engaging with you. We'll have colleagues from our clients, Schneider Electric or Saint-Gobain. A lot of these colleagues would be, talking along with us in these events. So we'll look forward to your active participation in these events. We'll roll out the invitation to you shortly. So with this, maybe what I'd like to do is open the session for Q&A. But before I do that, I'd like to re-emphasize the fact that there's nothing more critical than to the health of a business than the health of its people. So I think that today's event also has brought out the subject of employee well-being to the core. So yes, health is the bottom line for all of us. What is important is the health of our people, and all of us collectively are going to work towards ensuring that our employees remain healthy, and that's how the success of our organization also would be written about. So with this, I'll open the Q&A lines. We do already have a few questions here from participants. So what I'll do is, as I take up some of these questions, I'll direct them to my colleagues, and I'll welcome all of you to send in more questions out here. So yes, one of the questions that we have here is, how many organizations are offering reimbursement of services like hiring a nanny when today credits are closed? So that's the reality. Yes, credits today are closed. So how many organizations are actually replacing that with services like hiring a nanny? So I'll invite Tanushree to share some view on this with us.
Yeah. Thanks, Praval. So when we look at organizations, of course, we do not have a larger number of organizations who have taken this approach, but it's a balance. You know, there are organizations who are offering nanny services, and there are organizations who are also offering babysitter services. So the model is that you can get a person from the any of the vendor partners available in the market and get a reimbursement done towards that. And from the organization's perspective, they are trying to allocate a similar kind of amount towards these services, which was typically being invested in a creche service primarily. So if you ask me honestly, coming back to the question that, how many organizations, so probably the numbers really not are very high, to be very honest. But however, these are the progressive organizations who are looking at the situation and adapting to the newer requirements that employees are coming up with. So I hope that answers. Yeah.
Continuing on the same line, Tanushree, yes.
Yeah, I see.
Again, in the benefit space, we do have one more very interesting question. So we know that traditional approach of having a fixed number of leaves of 24 or 21, depending on the organizations. But today, are organizations looking at offering a special category of leave, like a COVID leave of more than, of 28 days over and above the sick leave that organizations typically would have? Are they doing anything around that also?
Yes, thanks, Praval. So yes, COVID leave is over and above the sick leave that the organization is offering, over and above the earned leaves as well. So this is a different category of leave that organizations have included in their offering, and this is specifically availed by people, say for example, if you have a COVID patient, an employee who's affected by COVID. And of course, that 28 days then is not sufficient anymore. So it is on need basis, however, available to all employees. But to answer the question, yes, it is over and above the standard earned leave as well as the sick leave offering.
So we do see a trend of organizations offering additional leaves because of COVID-19 aside of the medical leave. That's very interesting.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
This is over and above. Yeah.
So what we also do have, a large pool of, participants here from leading multinational companies, Indian companies in the north here. I do have the privilege also of having, some of our, key colleagues here of the north region. So Santanu and Pavan are there. So I'll invite Santanu to quickly come in, and, there may be clients who would like to share our views, share their views with us on how they have managed COVID-19 and how they have, developed their own organizational strategies around this whole thing. Santanu, would you like to quickly have some word with clients here live?
Thanks, Praval. Yes, the objective was, of course, to share our insights and the way forward to all our clients. But at the same time, this is also a session to understand and listen to them in terms of their thoughts. So one of my question is to Tushar. He's from Philips. If he can unmute and come on video. Tushar. Hey,
hi, Shantanu. Yeah, can you see me? Fine.
Yes, you can see. Like to understand that while Philips India has been doing a great job in terms of fight against COVID, the way you guys ramped up the ventilator production, we were discussing about that. But from an employee perspective, while everyone was working remotely, what were your top concern as CNB leader in terms of concern for the well-being of the employees, and what all support mechanism Philips did in order to facilitate well-being for them? Over to you, Tushar.
Thank you. Thanks, Shantanu, and thanks for having me on this session. Quite insightful findings that Ema and Tanushree have shared. So if you talk about our response to COVID, so we have been looking at employee health and well-being for quite some time now. So as you know, we are a health tech company, and our vision is to improve the lives of 3 billion people across the globe. And of course, with that said, we need to start first with our own employees, right? If we intend to look at the health of people all over the world. So in terms of when the pandemic hit us in the beginning, I think there were a couple of initial things that were up there. For example, I think like Ema was talking about that the deductions in the insurance claims were quite high. So the first and foremost thing that we looked at was, with the help of your account team, we really understood whether our existing policy wordings and coverages were adequate, right? So one was in terms of the hospitalization risk. So more in terms of, whether the wordings are enough, whether they cover PPE, whether they have any specific exclusion from pandemic. And I think thankfully that was covered for us. So with those basics in place, and I think for the benefit of audience, we already have a flexible benefits program offering. So employees actually can choose their coverage as per their needs. And majority of our employees were adequately covered because we had given them a choice. So if you look at the numbers, almost 70% of population had a cover of more than 5 lakhs. So from a coverage perspective, that also helped. And on top of that, we also had an OPD cover. So I think on the health side, if I have to classify into physical health, the first one was the hospitalization bit, which I think I spoke about. The other big component was the outpatient cover, right? So almost 30% of our population has chosen a voluntary outpatient program, which in a way gives a lot of comfort. And we actually mobilized that a lot in terms of communication. The third bit was about telemedicine or digital health, right? So what can we do as a company for digital health? Now, we actually mobilized some of our, so we mobilized two broad services. One was Practo, right? And the other was in terms of the telemedicine service that we have. So in a way, completing the picture for the employee. And finally, on the physical health side, we looked at taking a home care expense cover so that, in case employee has a symptom and but is not needing hospitalization, how do we make sure that we cover for these unexpected expenditures? Because, majority of these cases will need oximeters, monitors and all.
Yeah.
So on the physical health side, that was one bit. But of course, we need to do a lot more in terms of creating a enabling work environment. So, we looked at our work from home policies. We looked at how we can enable productivity at home by providing, let's say, home office benefits for employees. On the mental well-being area, we really pushed the accelerator there because, like Hima said, mental health will be the biggest, I would say, consequence of this pandemic. And I can possibly say more so than the physical health part of it, because we have fundamentally changed the way people work for the last 6-7 months.
Yeah.
So these were the few things that we did, and but happy to share more in detail if you guys want to. But just to give you a gist, that was these are the 4-5 areas that we looked at.
Thanks, Tushar. Thanks for taking your time and thanks for your, making us understand the initiative that your company has done. Maybe let me move on to Talat from JLL. Talat, if you are there, you can unmute and switch on your video. I understand real sector, of course, the entire industry being impacted adversely, but real estate was always, tough to look at. But the way, entire business resiliency has been built in. And whenever we discuss, you always emphasize that to build in business resiliency, the workforce resiliency is the key area for you. So I'd like to understand from you, how's been the overall innovation? And let me also put across, when it comes to innovation, you're the one who innovated and built in a flex in these times when, everyone was working remotely. So what are the ways, innovative ways you engage your employees? I mean, one, of course, people working remotely, and for you, it is a diverse, population sitting out of office spaces. So over to you, Talat, would like to understand. Yeah.
Thanks. Sorry, I'm probably on.
No, we can hear you, Talat. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks, Shantanu. Thank you for inviting me for this discussion, and a very interesting question indeed. I mean, we took the decision and we took a plunge to kind of get into flex benefits when the rest of the sectors, and especially the real estate, was still worrying about the financials. but we had made a commitment to the employees and we stood by it. And I'm very glad that we took that decision. So I think it has also to do, if I can say that, with the culture of the organization, Shantanu. And at JLL, we have a very people-centric culture. The culture at JLL is about, it talks about a holistic employee well-being and engagement that begins with listening to our people, providing them with an assurance to say that as an employer, we stand by them through thick and thin times. We stay connected. We make an endeavor to stay connected with our employees in all the circumstances through regular connects. Now it is only a matter of time that the physical connects were changed to virtual connects. Thankfully, we were equipped with all the virtual platforms that are there, but there wasn't any change, I would say, in the frequency of connects, if only they increased with the pandemic. And the last of all is, to show people that we really care about them and to take up their grievances and to hear them out. I think one of the feedback that came to us last year from the employees, when we realized many of the benefits that we were providing to our employees were actually not as per what they would have liked, as per their needs or requirements, because as an organization, we were providing them a broad-based benefits, which was a standard flat cover of life insurance, a standard flat cover of medical, blah, blah, blah. And, many of the benefits, while as an organization, we were investing a heavy amount in it, they were going unappreciated by the employees and probably not utilized to that extent. It was only 40% of the, people who were responsible for 100% plus claims that we were receiving. I think, and that's where the whole beginning, the thought process began to churn around flexible benefits. And in the midst of the pandemic, on June 1, we went live with with all the flexible benefits. I would say that COVID-19 that led to a significant economic disruption. Our thoughts initially were on employees' physical health. However, they soon turned to a potential of financial hardship and the impact of money worries that might have on our employees' physical health as well if they were to catch an infection. And we proceeded to work around a holistic strategy, a holistic wellness strategy for our employees, which began with a guidance on how to weather the pandemic storm. So our holistic strategy has, kind of 4 pillars, which talks about financial wellness. It talks about physical wellness, emotional wellness, and there is an online repository of articles and resources that can provide guidance to employees around various specific problems. So financial wellness, wherein we, came out with an employee loan policy and we started providing affordable interest-free loans to our employees, assessing their medical exigencies. There were other financial products such as employee discount marketplace, cash is the king, and we wanted our employees to have the best of the utilities available in the market at the discounted prices, and we came up with Benefits Hub along with you. There were certain rainy day insurances that we provided to our employees, and of course, flexible benefits was a part of it. Like you rightly said, wherein, we continued to invest what we were investing in our employees' health and wellness, but we invited them to co-own their insurance, to co-own their health and wellness, and to make a choice of whatever they wanted to invest and design the specific covers that they thought were relevant to them. That apart, we are also, a specific COVID insurance for our employees is also in works. Yes, that's also in works, apart from the specific COVID insurance, which is already provided in the medical cover. There is a holistic physical wellness program, which is provided through virtual diagnostic platforms such as telemedicine and various pharmacy benefits, again delivered virtually to our employees. There's a whole lot of emotional wellness and focus around that as well that we are doing. There is, we've partnered with Santulan and there is a 24/7 helpline for our employee counseling without an intervening manager or an HR, with all the privileges of a counselor and a counselee. Then, we have also partnered with Headspace around meditation and emotional stability, something that we've partnered with them at a global level, and we've brought it all to, our employees globally. Apart from that, there is a huge repository, like I said, the online repository of articles and resources to provide guidance on any specific problems that are documented and well researched. These are, kind of accumulated on a wellness platform, on a specific JLL platform, which goes by the name Wellbeing at JLL. And it is accessible to all our employees across the globe. Continually, we keep on adding our articles, medical research items to this repository. Then there is another online repository through Roundclass Reach, which has also gone live recently for our employees. So I think there's a whole lot.
A whole lot of innovations all there. Fantastic. So great. Pavan, I'd like to just call on you.
Sure. So Shantanu, thank you once again. I think few of the senior people I see on the call, they have another call starting in few minutes. So I'll quickly go around and I think take their views as well. So let me first get Sumit Katyal from G. Hi, Sumit. Niladri, can you unmute his line? And Sumit, can you please also switch on your video? Thank you for joining the call. We have been working very closely with you, Sumit. I still can't see you. I think you're there somewhere. Yes, Sumit. So Sumit, you have been working very closely with us on the benefits part, the entire restructuring and the discussion around what should be the future. And you really have been at the forefront of the entire discussion, have had many discussions with us, calls with us. So let me get your views quickly on this one, and how do you see the future really evolving, and what more support can we extend to you from the entire insurance partnership? Sumit, over to you, please. Niladri, can you unmute his line, please?
Yeah, Sumit, can you hear us? You can unmute and speak. We have promoted him as a panelist. We can hear you, Sumit.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, Sumit. Go ahead, please.
Okay. So firstly, thank you to the Marsh team for inviting us over. I really appreciate the fact. And Marsh and GE has been working quite closely, if I might add. And you have been our partners right through this journey since the time COVID started. So Bhavan, you and your team have been there right at the forefront. The way we approached this entire piece was to manage our employee value proposition, as well as take in the more pragmatic aspects of balancing costs. So that's the way we kind of approached this entire piece. So whether it was about having enhanced covers, also providing for an extended window for people to be able to flex, ensuring that domiciliary expenses are covered, or having a higher buffer available with us to be able to handle claims relating out of COVID, or the fact that our terms and conditions should be able to incorporate the impact of COVID. All of this, Pavan, we have partnered with you and your team, and we've ensured that for our employees, we're able to provide at this critical a time. And not only for our employees, but GE also has a healthcare division, and they were at the forefront at the time of COVID. And for our vendor partners, not only for our employees, but even for our vendor partners, we ensured that their employees are adequately covered. So it has been an overall holistic approach. And going forward, that will be the intent. So things around work from home policies and it's work from home is simply not about providing a lump sum or, setting up home offices. There are other pieces to look at with both legal, tax and everything. And that's what we are in the midst of currently. Sure. But overall, the approach has been to keep the employees' health in mind, as well as focus on managing costs, both.
And Sumit, I can tell you from personal experience, I think you and your team have been really, putting us to the task and saying that let's get the best out from the market. So big thank you. I think it has been a great learning experience for all of us as well. So once again, I know you have another call. Thank you for joining the call. I really appreciate your time, Sumit.
Thanks,
And
Pawan, and thanks
yeah,
everyone in the Marsh team.
thank you, Sumit.
Really appreciate it.
Next up, let me get Romika and then maybe Sam as well. And Sam also has another call. So Romika, over to you, please. I think you work with a few countries. Hi, Romika. Good evening to you once again. So, yeah. So Romika, I know you work with few countries across the region with the Marsh team, and you've seen the support coming from various countries. So how do you see India in comparison to other countries? And do you see there's adequate amount of support in this entire pandemic era, or you think more could have been done, from the insurance partners in the country?
Yeah, so Marsh supports us across all our countries in APAC, which is about 15 countries at this point. And the support has been great. I think this is a time when we really need to internalize, like Tanushree was talking about, in terms of what our benefits, philosophy and practice are. So I'll make it quick because I know we are on time. Now, if some of you would know that Expedia is an extremely employee-centric company. But being in the travel industry, the COVID impact on us has been really exceptional. And that has brought us to a place where it's become imperative for us to actually think about sustainability as well, from a cost point of view. So we are finding ourselves in a situation where we really need to balance out between cost optimization and employee well-being. So from a cost point of view, what we are doing is we are going back to the drawing board and, thinking about, okay, what are the non-essential benefits that we have and can we get rid of these? And there are actually some significant cost benefits, like we had expert medical opinion and the utilization is actually less than 1%. So we are looking at getting rid of these and investing that money somewhere else, or basically just saving that money. Healthcare, we are not really touching. We have a competitive plan, we have a good OPD plan, and we want to continue with that to give employees the reassurance that at least from a health point of view, they are taken care of. And since what we are also trying to do is from different countries' point of view, like there were some countries where the benefits were higher than our positioning in others. So we are trying to balance it out so that, across the globe, our benefits are similar, because we are all in this situation together. From a well-being point of view, what we are really focusing on is EAP. And this was our priority for a while now, but I've had a discussion with a couple of my counterparts in other industries. And surprisingly, we all talk about how important mental wellness is and how the cases are rising, but the utilization, I think, for all of us is less than 2-3%. Right. So we are working with different vendors globally to see, okay, how do we improve this? So is it that, okay, employees are not comfortable picking up the call and talking to a counselor? So we are trying to bring in chat features and things like that. So we are exploring that in detail. And of course, like a lot of us, we are trying to bring in as much flexibility as possible. So we had a travel and wellness allowance separately. We have now clubbed it together and saying basically you can use it for buying furniture for your house, getting food delivered, a creche facility or a nanny facility, and so on. So yeah, to summarize, that's where we are.
Absolutely. And I think once again, keep pushing us. I think few of the things which you ask us at times, we don't have the ready-made solution, but we actually go back to the drawing board and we work, with various teams across the region. And at times it's very useful for us also as a learning curve, Romika. So thank you once again to you and your entire team for all the support.
Thank you, Pawan, for having me.
Thank you. Next up, I think Sam, I know you also have another call at 5:15. I've asked you to wait, please. So Sam, can you also, I think, share your experience? Particularly, I think during this pandemic, you had your renewal and you have seen the demands for the insurance really going up in your organization, and you had your call with the CFO and everybody, and the way this entire enrollment exercise for the renewal has turned for you, I think has been a great learning experience. So Niladri, can you please unmute his line? Sam, are you there?
We have unmuted Sam. Sam, can you please unmute yourself and speak?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Sam. Please go ahead.
Thanks, Pawan. Thanks for inviting. And the insight which Tanushree and Ema gave, that was really, really insightful. And I'm really thankful that such a seminar or some webinar you have arranged. So I will not take much time, but yes, this was first year of our engagement with Marsh this year. And I think this is the right decision from our organization that globally we have engaged, because we were not prepared for this pandemic, first of all. And before engagement with the Marsh, what we did an internal survey and to check on our insurance policy, like what actually associates will be looking forward. So one of the striking thing which we had actually, but maybe we didn't communicate well with the associate, that, you know, normally if you send an associate on site, you know, and especially in the captive, you discontinue his insurance. His family lives or her family lives here and you discontinue it. This time there's a huge demand that, no, even though we are in another country, we want our family to be covered. Okay, so we are one of the one that said it's fine that even though you're on site, even some other country payroll, but in GMC, definitely we will be covering you. Also, there was a demand that how we can increase our voluntary top up. You know, the top up which we give already 2 to 3 times of the base salary, but they want anything more than that. So Pawan and team helped to identify a product from the market that apart from this, what we can buy thing. And also what we are looking exploring at this moment is like something specific to COVID, which is not covered in our regular policy, you know, so like home quarantine and the expenses you take. So there's a huge demand from the associates where home quarantine expenses should be covered. So that's one of the few things. And one of the things which we did is like we introduced a Fiserv Care Fund, which go up to 2 lakhs of Indian currency, where anything for an associate, okay, if your family has gone through a business loss or taken a loan and you are not able to repay your family, direct dependent we are talking about. So the associate can raise a concern and put an application that this is because of COVID, and if he or she can prove that it was because of COVID, 2 lakhs of grant is given and it's non-recoverable. So we don't recover it, we just give it to support the associate. And someone spoke about the COVID leaves, right? So yes, we introduced COVID leaves around 20 days we give, but it's just not related to COVID. If some associate have problem to manage their elder parents, you know, because they are sick, they are not COVID, but they are just sick. So for that also, or they need to manage their child because they are not going to a daycare at this moment. Even for those things also, if you need leaves, we are giving leaves of 20 days, which is paid leave and over and above of regular leave. Another survey we did on the wellness, and definitely we received the similar input which all speakers have spoken. But one striking thing which in free text everyone has written is like they need something doctors on call. And when we went to those associates and asked, what does it mean doctors on call, or we want to talk with the doctor, they said, we don't want to go to the doctor or the hospital as soon as we feel sick. We want someone to just have a call. And then if they said, yes, you should go, then only we want to go. So we are exploring that some vendors now, that how we can have a doctor's on call. So they just take a call. Maybe they don't need to go to the hospital. They're just worried or anxiety that they have a COVID. So these are some things. I will not take much time. It's a Friday and we are almost at time. So, but thankful. Thanks to all of you to having.
Thank you, Sam. I think these are very, very useful inputs, and we will continue to work and continue to engage with you and your entire team. So welcome on board once again. I think we know it's a first year for us, and we are committed to add significant value to your entire insurance program. I also see Mr. Sushil Monga on the call, and then Medhavni as well. So, you know, Medhavni, first to you. Ladri, can you please unmute her line? And hi, Medhavni, can you hear me?
Yeah, please. Yeah.
Medhavni, you can unmute yourself and also can switch on the video. Meanwhile, I think let's get Sushil Monga. Mr. Monga, are you there? Good evening to you. Thank you for joining in. Ladri, can you unmute his line as well?
No, I can't find Mr. Sushil Monga. I think he must have left.
Okay. Meanwhile, Pavan, what we can do is there are certain queries, and Praval, I request that if can let's address those questions which raised.
And we also have two people who have raised their hands. So if we can unmute their lines.
Yeah, perfect.
Quickly cover a couple of questions that has come across here in the Q&A panel. One is there a trend to have a equal coverage irrespective of levels? Is it based on equity coverage across age or level? I think yes, organizations do realize sometimes that healthcare need is uniform. So healthcare need doesn't vary basis grades of an employee. So also as a part of the overall inclusive culture, we do see that this will be an emerging trend where more and more companies will look at, having a uniform cover, especially on health insurance, across all employees. Having said this, in products like term life or accident insurance, there may be a multiplier based approach still or a grade based approach, because there the human life value is what is important to cover. And there it would be inadequate to say that everybody has the same human life value, because human life value is dependent on the amount of earnings of a person, which is individual. So I think that's how I'll put it in terms of that trend. Is there a trend? Yes, there is a trend, and more companies are considering it.
I think Medhavni Praval is back. I think she
okay,
just messaged.
Sure, please,
so
please,
Medhavni, are you there? Can you hear us, please? You can unmute yourself. I think Viladri has unmuted you. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, Medhavni, can you hear us? You can unmute yourself and speak to us.
All right. So hopefully now you'll be able to hear me.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
I didn't have the option. I just got the option. Okay. So thank you everyone for inviting me. So first of all,
You can unmute yourself, Medhavni, once again. I think your line got muted again. Yeah, please.
Yeah, I have unmuted myself and I am on the video as well now for it.
Perfect. Please go ahead.
Okay. So great to learn about so many organizations. So far, everyone came and gave amazing inputs. So first of all, I'll start with communications. I think, Emma, you did discuss about it, that it is really important. And I would completely agree with you. And I would want to thank Marsh team. Why? Because like the way you're having polls today, I picked it up and I spoke to Sachin, who works very actively with me. And thanks to Prakash and Pavan also, who are also supporting at the back end. So we had these polling for our employees. And because of this, so when our renewals cycle starts in the month of April, and I said, I want to make it interactive. Nobody wants to know about the usual insurance thing. However, in the COVID time, it is important, but nobody is so much concerned. And how would you want to make sure that you communicate? Or else you'll have all these questions coming to your TPA, your HR. So we had those polling options. We had 12 to 15 questions for the entire session. And it was so interactive that approximately 80% of our employees, so currently in India, we have close to 1,400, we were able to bring 80% of those employees to these meetings. The next was top up. Again, it went great again because of the communication. Now, basis the COVID scenario right now, we have a COVID fund, which is globally managed. Then we have given $300, approximately 21,000 rupees to each and every employee across the globe to set up their home. So you can use it for your desk, you can use it for additional screens. Not only that, we asked our employees, if you can go to the organization like your office, you can pick up your chair and you can bring it at home. So that is over and above those $300.
Sure.
Now, when it comes to wellness, I think somebody was talking about it and they said that only 2 to 3%, nobody goes above that percentage. So we also understood that when we were going through those analytics, and we said, okay, first of all, we need awareness, because in the normal case scenario, people might not even know. And then talking about that confidentiality, that even the organization doesn't come to know about it. So that's something we did, and we can see those numbers rising, so which is a very good thing because it is important. We also had some roundtable discussions from a wellness standpoint with our EAP. so that employees come together and they can understand that it is not only them who are going through it, but there are others also going through it.
Sure, sure.
Now, coming to those COVID benefits. Now, I have been working again with Marsh when it comes to telemedicine, when it comes to lump sum. Now, for everyone in the group, we have a thorough plan already for our employees. It's a IT product organization where everyone is already working from home. So, so we don't see, so we already had great benefits on the market benefits where 1+6 are covered, and we have no copay, we don't have room rent, everyone is covered from that perspective. So top up was again a good part to that. We already had OPD for 17,000. Not only this, but we were looking for a holistic kind of a thing to be employees. And for that, we went ahead. Now we're talking about the lump sum policy because we know because of time we require that, and the telemedicine. The ask, I would say, from the Marsh team or the vendors is that when we are coming and consulting, like for us, cost might not be the major criteria, because as an organization, an IT product organization, we are doing great. But somebody who can come and consult, okay, you have 1, 2, 3, these 5, 6 will make sure that you're holistically covered. The second challenge which we are facing today is on the processes. Now, some of the processes related to InfoSec. Now, as the organization goes wider, you have to take so many approvals, and you kind of start. So,
absolutely.
So all those become very important.
I think these are very, very important thoughts, Medhamni. Really appreciate, I think, all of that. And I think recently the way you partner with us on the entire benefit policy, you know, with the new insurer, I think, and I think that the entire experience has been very useful. So thank you once again, Medhamni. Really appreciate your thoughts on that. We also have Prerna as well as Anita from Schneider, and then we have Kuldeep from Microsoft as well. So I think if I can get first, Kuldeep, you there? We can unmute your line, and then Prerna, whoever, I think we can unmute the line first.
I have unmuted Prerna first.
Yeah, Prerna, good evening to you, please. How are you doing? You can unmute yourself, Prerna. So meanwhile, we can go to Kuldeep. Kuldeep, are you there? Kuldeep from Microsoft.
I think Kuldeep has left. We're not finding anyone in Kuldeep.
Okay. Anita from Schneider.
Prabal, we can also keep a very open house in terms of people asking questions or the questions which is already been typed, and we address that because we've already crossed 23 minutes. So I think let's respect people's time as well. Yeah.
I don't think we have any open questions.
We have Anita Srivastava. I have unmuted her.
Anita, good evening to you. Can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you all hear me?
Yes, yes, please.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So first of all, thank you very much. It's been a very engaging and a very informative session. A lot of research thrown in. And as expected from Marsh, it's been a wonderful presentation. A lot of information for us to take back home. Schneider's, just a couple of months back, we've closed our renewal. So though we've not enhanced too many benefits this year, but we've made sure, that the COVID part was, pretty much taken care of. We've included the PPE coverage to a certain extent. We've also covered the home isolation part so that, people who don't really have to be in the hospital for treatment, the home isolation part can take care of such expenses. Ours is, basically a plan which is, it's flexible. We have a lot of sum insured family structures from quite a few years now. So we didn't really feel much need to do much on the flexibility part. But yes, COVID was more or less, added a lot, and we've done that. Also for our operators, because, we have manufacturing units across India. So we've taken additional, COVID coverage, which is over and above what is being provided in our basic plan. And as far as the policies go, so Schneider has had, again, work from home for the past 2 years. It more or less got reinforced now. And we have regular town halls with our leaderships, with the business leaders, and even the managers have been, encouraged to hold, at least a monthly call with their teams, check on the well-being, if any support is required, to reach out to them. That's being done. For the mental well-being, we have employee assistance program, again, for more than 4 years in place now. It's again being reinforced through all the town halls that the leaders are doing. And on the other hand, we're also been conducting yoga sessions on the WebEx, continuously promoting the mental well-being, encouraging employees, if they have any thoughts,
right.
They can reach out to the EAP partners or to their managers or their HRBPs. And in the annual health checkup, we've had annual health checkup, but right now we're trying to explore if, we can have a look at the home collection service as well. Because a lot of people want to do the annual health checkup, but they're kind of a little, scared to, go out to a hospital or a diagnostic center, for obvious reasons. Right. So we're trying to explore the home, sample collection process as well. So that's the only new thing that I'm trying to look at.
Maybe, Pawan, quickly we can have Dr. Rajiv speak about this, the home collection part, before we go to.
So before that, I think Shantanu, I also see Abhishek as well as Jimmy from Airtel. So Abhishek Sharma from Nokia as well. So Abhishek, are you there? We can unmute your line if you're
we have unmuted Abhishek Sharma.
Abhishek, hi, good evening to you. Are you there? And Niladri, also Jimmy from Airtel. Hi, Jimmy, good evening to you.
We have also unmuted Jimmy, if you can hear us. I think both of them have dropped out.
Okay, no issue. So let's go to Rajiv. Yeah. I think meanwhile, if anybody wants to ask an open question, I think we can answer that as well.
Yeah, thank you, Pawan. I think to answer Anita's question, so we do have solutions available today, which addresses home collection facilitations, home health checkups, and telemedicine. Largely, we have partners, whom we can facilitate, and we'll be happy to have these discussions with you, Anita. And some of what we already have, first round of discussions we already had in this, around this. So we'll be happy to have engage with you more on this. Thank you.
Sure. Prabal, if we have more questions on the Q&A, just address, because we've already crossed almost.
Yes. No, thank you so much, Santanu. I think Pawan, Santanu, really appreciate that so many of our clients could actually speak and engage with us in this interactive session. And when you hear it from the client, it just resonates more that yes, what we are doing together for clients and our community here is really awesome. And I think with this, I'd like to close the session for today with a last thought that yes, while we did attempt to elaborate on the strategy part for today, tomorrow, and beyond, I think all of us would love to again engage with each one of you individually, because ultimately we covered at a very macro level. Maybe we should talk about at a company level. We should talk about every client and see how the strategy can be evolved for your organization and for your own people. So with this thought, looking forward to more interactive sessions like this. Thank you so much for taking out time today on a Friday afternoon and joining us for this session. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes.